Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, June 6, 2018. Beware, because this video will be full of the truth, and a lot of people don't like that. Taking a look at our space weather, our solar conditions today. Our solar wind speed is declining at 418.3 kilometers per second with a density of 6.5. Take a look at our sun. Right now we are spotless for the first time in a while. That'll make us at 81 days for the year 2018. And checking out our KP indices, we are now at a 1 with a 24-hour max at a 2. And looking at our SDO, NOAA says there's no significant equatorial coronal holes on the Earth side of the sun at this time. And as we look at the SDO in motion, it's pretty quiet. The corona, if you notice here, it looks pretty weak on the eastern limb. There's our spots that have been active, but it looks like the sun might go into a little bit of a quiet mode after, I would say, a fairly mildly active sun over the last couple weeks. And also a little bit of a drop into the TSI numbers. Now, we peaked out around 13.681. Right now we sit at 13.6591, and that is as of May 28th, I believe, here, 2018. And we'll start off here. The title might be a little concerning, but I just wanted to put to everyone's mind at ease that this is just basically a watch. And it talks about here this particular volcano crater here, Mount Rapu. Here in New Zealand. They've been monitoring the cycles of the cooling and heating. It gets anywhere from 53 degrees Fahrenheit to 104. And reading through this article, basically the scientists there are just basically reassuring everyone that nothing out of the normal is happening with this crater at this time. And so they're keeping the volcano alert at a 1 right now. So nothing major. There is a tiny uptick in the seismic activity, but scientists there still say that it's just something at a 1, and we're just going to keep an eye out for the time being. And a little bit of update here for the Fuego. The death toll has jumped to nearly 75. Over 200 missing. The flow flowed on the same path on Sunday, June 3rd, during Fuego's worst eruption in decades and Guatemala's deadliest since 1902, when an eruption of Santa Maria volcano killed thousands of people. Sunday's eruption came without warning just before midday, sending deadly flows more than 6.2 miles downslope, destroying entire villages. The same mixture of very hot gas and fast-moving volcanic material destroyed Italian city of Pompeii after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, I believe, in 79 AD. Now these flows can reach speeds up to 700 kilometers per hour, which is 430 miles per hour for us folk here in the US of A. I'll leave the link in the description. Just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. There's a little bit update on the death toll, and we reported on this the other night. We had a fear that it would rise, as they still haven't gotten to certain parts of that region for the recovery efforts. So we'll keep our eyes on that as well. And hundreds of more homes, guys, listen to this. Hundreds of more homes were destroyed as lava covers most of Kapoho here in Hawaii, guys. 200 homes were destroyed in the past 48 hours. All right, 300 since this started back in May 3rd. So just in the last 48 hours, nearly 200 homes have been destroyed. According to Janet Snyder, it's safe to say that hundreds of homes were lost, referring to the June 5th, 2018 events that happened overnight Tuesday in Kapoho Beach lots and Vacationland neighborhoods. Says here, Vacationland is almost completely destroyed. Tuesday morning overflight confirmed that lava completely filled the Kapoho Bay, scientists with the USGS said. This picture speaks volumes, folks. We can see this right here was once neighborhoods and landscape of green. I'm not trying to bring any kind of doom to it, but it's just, this is impressive. This is continuing. I'm just glad that we've taken the precautions. It seems like everyone is gone from these areas. It's just sad that these folks, all these homes that have been destroyed since May 3rd, but really unfortunate that over 200 homes have been destroyed in the last 48 hours alone. Now we're starting to see some serious damage from this, and this has been going on now for over a month. We'll leave the link in the description. You guys can check out the article here at the Watchers. Once again, great information from then. And now we have unseasonal heavy rain and strong cold front hits Western Australia, leaving 40,000 properties without power. Australia is in the headlines for me tonight a couple times. They had damaging wind gusts up to 109 kilometers per hour, which is 68 miles per hour, and heavy rainfall that left 40,000 properties without power in southern Western Australia today. The state's utilities said that restoring power from Kalabari to Albany may slow as bad weather hampers repair works. So not only are they dealing with power outages, but they are also trying to fix the problem during the element here. And we'll take a look at this radar. I hope we will. Yeah. So there's tons of moisture moving into the region. Light to moderate to heavy rainfall at times. Says here that strong and squally winds over the Perth metro area with showers streaming through. The front has moved through the southwest capes with conditions expected to ease during the afternoon. Severe weather warning for damaging winds and abnormally high tides. And, you know, Western Australia, I've talked about them a few times this year. One event, they got rain of 18.6 inches within 16 hours, I believe. So, and just proving more talk that we've had about what they're expecting here soon, which is a cold start to their winter. I'll get to that just in a second, but here a little bit more rain. Heavy monsoon rains trigger deadly landslide in Mizoram, India. State officials said the landslide was triggered by heavy rain that started lashing Lunglong area of the South Mizoram Lunguini town on Monday night. Now, the slide hit two-storied semi-pucco building, killing 7 members of a family and 3 members of another family residing in the building's first floor. 4 people were rescued, one of them with injuries. It says here, rescue workers are searching for bodies and other people feared trapped in the debris since this morning, said a police official. Landslides in this region are common in the pre-monsoon month of June and during the monsoon season from July to September. But heavy rains are expected to continue through the state on Tuesday, June 5th, as the monsoon, which arrived over the northeastern states on June 1st, gradually progress. Bear with me, folks. It's been a long day. And here they have expected rain amounts here on the Watchers. Once again, great information. In June of 2017, more than 10 people were killed when heavy rain hit the same district that caused a landslide. So just trying to point out that it is tragic, but common and unfortunate in this part of the region of the world. But more heavy rains. Like God was throwing rocks at us. Baseball-sized hail pummels Texas. Severe storms, including hail the size of baseballs, left a trail of damage in Texas overnight from Carrollton to Coppell to Arlington. Windows and skylights were shattered, car lights were cracked or smashed, and tree branches were knocked to the ground. It actually sounded like God was throwing rocks at us. It's kind of a silly comment. Yeah, I mean, really.
Well, a lot of people feel like we are in end times, Jake.
I get that, but you know, like, I don't know why God would throw rocks at his children, but
he's pissed.
I'm sure he is, but anyway.
I don't blame him.
Sorry, I'm getting way off base here, folks. You have to. I read some of these quotes, I see some of these stories, and, you know, I'm just shell-shocked here. It actually sounded like God was throwing rocks, he says. The storms turned severe around 12:30 a.m. That was overnight, so that's not good. When the National Weather Service posted warnings for portions of Denton County, Collin County, the storms tracked south and west, bringing high winds and heavy rain to Dallas-Fort Worth area, dumping large hail in its path. I want to get to some pictures of this hail. I haven't seen only but a few. That's not what I wanted. Well, thanks a lot, Internet. I think there was a picture right here of the large hail. We'll leave the link in the description. What the hail? I mean, it just seems like every night we bring up a situation where we see large amounts of hail being dumped. And it's getting more and more intense and bigger. Last night we read about how the biggest hail that had fallen was the size of a volleyball. I just couldn't imagine if an animal or a human was in the way of that, how tragic that would be. That's insane. But we're seeing lots of it. And here's another hail story. And I think this is old news. Yeah, June 6th. I'm not sure. Well, maybe not. This plane here was caught in a hailstorm. And it seems like we've seen this image over and over again. And several other YouTube channels. I've seen one channel who's actually posted a couple of videos. But look at the windshield. How do you land a plane with that kind of damage? Those pilots deserve a medal. The hailstones gave the crew something to worry about. This fear is shown in the twisted flight path that it took as they avoided these violent areas of the storm. Still, hail caved in the radome in the airplane's nose, broke cockpit windows. No injuries were reported to the 130 passengers and 5 crew members on board. The plane made an emergency landing in El Paso, Texas. My goodness. We commended the great work of our pilots along with our flight attendants who safely landed the Airbus. I mean, commended is an understatement. They better be getting some extra vacation time. That's just genius. Look at the nose in the windows. And, just another article. I'm not really going to go into a whole in-depth conversation on this. Just more, I wanted to point this out because we have more and more proof now that ocean indicators suggest that CO2 isn't the strongest driver of our climate. And, everybody that watches this channel, I talk about that constantly. We've mentioned it several times. But, again, I just thought this was another great article. What's up with that? Always putting out information that matters. It is relevant. And some people might find this a little dry or boring, but these are the papers, these are the articles that you need to see. These are the reasons why we're here doing this channel, because the proof is coming out and it's showing us that we're cooling and that the beliefs of CO2 and what they thought was driving the climate is just not true. And, the evidence just continues to pile up day by day. And here's another one. You guys know I've been kind of keeping up with the whole Scott Pruitt here, but it says here, I thought I'd never see such a thing. It has, as if it is once feared in draconian agency, actually become an ally of the American people. He's talking about how all the promises that have been made so far with this administration, withdrawal from the Paris climate, ensure the clean air and water, reduce burdensome government regulations, repeal the so-called Clean Power Plan, repeal the Waters of the United States rule, promote energy dominance, promote science transparency. That's the big one. End, sue, and settle, and promote the auto industry. Now, I know that the people over there in the global warming community are their heads are exploding. And that's what they suggest here. They want you to send this article here, and I also put the link in, but this is the article. And of course, the mainstream media is concerned that, they just don't believe in climate change. They're just climate deniers. But if you read the article here, it's very they're trying to say, I'm not sure if some of these folks actually believe that Trump is taking the advice of people who are giving him the correct science, or if they just think Trump is just being ignorant. I can't make it out. Normally, the mainstream media isn't too nice to Trump. I'll leave the link in the description, but it's good to bring this up because I've talked about it several times with Scott Pruitt. He has changed a lot. They've wiped out the words global warming. They've wiped out the words climate change off the websites there, the United States government. They're repealing the Obama's executive order that he made for climate change back in October of 2015. I've talked about that several times, and the only thing that Obama did that day, the only truth that he told was that he said that climate change is the number one threat to Americans, and he's right. Climate change, what the change that is coming, he's absolutely right. But these talking heads, these puppets out there, they word things to make it sound open-ended so they can't get cornered in one policy or another. But it's, to me, the reason why we're seeing all these changes right now with this administration is because they're actually listening to the real science. I keep hearing about how people that go against the climate change theory, you're going against so many scientists who believe that man-made global warming is real. Well, there's a lot of people out there as well who have PhDs that believe that global cooling is happening and that man cannot contribute to global warming as once thought. New research is coming out on a daily basis. And forget about research. Anybody that lives in the Northeast region or the Northwest in the United States, and to watch the cloud coverage here, especially in Buffalo the last 3 days, they look like big puffy snow clouds full of moisture. But the truth of the matter is that there's no rain in the forecast. There's no moisture at all. These very thick clouds, and I know I sound like a broken record, but increase of cosmic rays causing cloud nucleation, it's blanketing our skies. What TSI does reach our planet is being reflected back into space, and that's why we're looking at temperatures in Buffalo of 59 degrees on June 5th. And while we're talking about cold, Melbourne records its coldest start to winter since 1982. Now remember, folks, what happens in the southern hemisphere now, supposedly we have yet to look forward to for our winter coming up in 18 and 19. But the city recorded an average low of 3.9 Celsius, that's 39 degrees Fahrenheit, for the first days of June, marking the coldest start to a winter in 36 years. We just had a high-pressure system sitting pretty broadly over Victoria in southeastern Australia, and that's led to generally clear and cold nights. No cloud coverage, the temperatures drop. When the wind is low, it causes clear, still nights, which allows the lowest layers of the atmosphere to cool down a lot, meaning we are getting those really cold mornings. There we have a clear blue sky on Monday morning, a light film. But here we are. This is not the first time I've talked about this region looking at their coldest start. It says the maximum temperature ever recorded in Melbourne was 46.4 Celsius, which is 115 degrees Fahrenheit, 2009. And the coldest was recorded back in 1869, which a temperature of 29 degrees 0.9 actually Fahrenheit. So right now they're averaging temperatures at 39 degrees. They're 10 degrees away from their record. And again, this is just the beginning of their winter. So while we're talking about June snow, I've got a few articles here. This was from June 4th. We have Newfoundland here in Canada. Check this out. If it wants to ever load. It's a spinning wheel. Ad blockers. Anyway, so they dig out from 30 centimeters of snow on May 24th, and there's more to come. They've already had May snow. Mari, was this where we had the Warmest May followed by this snow, or is that another area up here?
The warmest May was in Sweden.
Okay, here we are.
They had the warmest May on record, and then
Go ahead,
I'm
say that
sorry,
again.
they had the warmest. Sweden had the warmest May on record, and then they woke up to snow in June. Happy June.
This is not the southern hemisphere either. After bathing in an unusually early summer heat wave over the last month, northern Sweden had rude awakening this week with temperatures plummeted, snow fell, and dramatic change of weather. Yeah, I'd say so. Look at this picture. At least an inch, a little bit more possibly. It says this year Sweden experienced its warmest May on record with sun and prolonged dry spells across the country, but the glorious weather came to an abrupt end on Monday night. In the south, that meant temperatures in the mere teens. In the north, it meant sudden snowfall, as captured by an employee of the Coop supermarket. I am not, maybe, Katterjock, near the northern Swedish border. I'm sure I'll get corrected. We have smart listeners out there, and there are folks that know how to pronounce these. It's been very warm here, so we're convinced we're not going to get any more snow, but we did. How could you have, for this snow to stick in the first place after having record temperatures in May, that means they had a sudden drop in temperatures. So we start with June 4th here in Newfoundland, Canada, and then we get the story here in Sweden on the 5th, and now we move to the 6th where we see snowflakes. Oh, this is also the 5th. Mount Washington. The calendar year may say June, but some parts of New England are not quite yet ready to give way to summer. We talked about temperatures being in the upper 40s in parts of Maine. This is worse. On Monday, temperatures plummeted to 26 degrees. A thick layer of ice built up after freezing rain fell, sure. So just another example here. Look at this. Yeah, it's not sticking, but it's freaking June. June 5th, to be exact, in this case. And then we had Christmas in June. Snowfalls in Charlottetown. Again, wet, heavy snowflakes. You see the green yards. Obviously, it's been warm and now snow. Started to mix in. Only 201 days till Christmas, it says here. This is ridiculous. You can hear it. It almost sounds like a heavy rain. Well, maybe you can't hear it, but I can. Started falling around 6:30 a.m. and was still falling at 7 a.m. The temperature was hovering at 2 degrees Celsius. It dipped a degree or two cooler than expected, and that's why they got the snowflakes. It's June 6th. I'm having a hard time coping. This would be a cruel joke to wake up, especially for me here in Buffalo. I know it's supposed to be cooler here, but my God. Again, we'll leave the link in the description, but here we have several cases of June and late May snow in the northern hemisphere, with talks of record-breaking cold in the southern hemisphere already. I believe Starman showed me the temperature, the global temperature anomalies for the northern hemisphere. We're at a plus 0.40. In the southern hemisphere, we're at a negative 0.05. So this pretty much sums it up right now, but the fact that we're getting affected with cold enough weather for snow in the northern hemisphere, I got to believe that this has something to do with it too. Seeing a very noticeable dive here in the North Atlantic SST anomaly. It falls back to negative 0.593. So once again, it's almost back at the 0.6 negative value, which we saw it bottom out to just a few days ago. A slight increase, but now trending downward once again. So how much lower can this go? And you know, with this and the cooler waters, the cooler ocean temperatures right now, for the most part, we're pretty quiet. We've got some strong thunderstorms here in Iowa. I'm sure there's probably a possibility with hail as well in that area. not out of the question. Looking at our windy forecast, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I don't know if I really want to look at temperatures as much, but definitely want to see what we've got in store for any kind of moisture. Here we are right now as of 8 o'clock at night. That line of thunderstorms moving through, actually kind of rotating counterclockwise is what the windy.com is showing. Then a huge generation of severe weather just developing over South Dakota. So Thursday night, we'll have to keep our eyes on this storm. But this is a very bizarre rotation of the moisture here. It shifts to east to west and then comes back down, retrogrades, and becomes severe through Nebraska, and then kind of flickers out by Friday. Some showers possible in the northern plains, the upper Great Lakes, and some more severe weather possible as well for the weekend in Michigan and South Dakota as well. Western New York might get a touch of moisture, as it does look like Pennsylvania, and then once again the East Coast near D.C. and Philly are looking at heavy rainfall, and they've had plenty of that. With more development in the Midwest through the Ohio Valley into northern Kentucky and the southeast, once again by the 11th, like we said the other day, we start to see more chances of moisture for the south and the eastern part of the United States on the 12th through the 13th. You know, windy's so slow. Mari, how's the chat doing?
The chat is good. Someone just informed me that my inbox is full, so I will take care of that ASAP. We have been so busy here with life, and we're in the middle of a move, and there's a lot going on, so I promised everyone in the chat there's much more to come. Once we just got to get through this summer, don't we, Jake?
Summer, next several weeks, there's going to be a lot going on. GSM relocation headquarters, so I'm excited, and I think everybody else will be too. So I wanted to look at the GFS, though, because, looking at windy, I kind of want to see how the GFS has this played out. I keep it after what windy won't show and give you the long-term look, but I'm going to pull this back here on the GFS, and they're the European model on the windy. But looking at the weather here, and I don't see that rotation backwards. The GFS tends to show this, everything going west to east. So it'll be interesting really to kind of watch the next several weeks as we get several low pressure systems. And just like on the European models, moisture begins to pick up across the southern parts of the United States. Once again, around June 11th through the 12th, GFS shows many chances of heavy precipitation in the south through the 14th. I did see some blue back in southern Canada near the northwest part of the United States. So, again, a very wet June, very cool so far. I know we're slated to start seeing temperatures on the rise here in the northeast, and we talked about this Monday night, that we were looking at a pattern shift, it looked like here. As you watch here, the northeast and the northwest aren't the cool spots anymore, and the cooler spots start to shift towards the central of the country, as the east and the west are slated to warm up right about here. So I'll pause it right there, and there's where we'll be focusing the long-term forecast for June 20th. It's been extremely cool here so far in the northeast and the northwest. Look at the contrast here, guys. 55 for the high in parts of North Dakota. We might even see some 40s as well for highs on June 20th. I remember, I think last July we had snow in Yellowstone, and in July it was almost a blizzard. So I wouldn't be surprised if we caught one of those freak storms again, because this weather is just crazy. You're looking at, again, this is such the beginning. We're at the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even begun to even see the real effects and the change. I'm telling you, the volcanoes erupting. I briefly got a chance to check out our chat today, and And Rob had sent me a few explosions on a couple of volcanoes. One reached around 20,000. The other one was about 18,000, 17,000 feet. It just seems like the activity of volcanoes are increasing, and you have to begin to wonder, with all that reflection of TSI happening because of the cloud coverage, the cloud nucleation, the emissions from volcanoes with ash and gases, and then you have the North Atlantic situation right now where the waters are cooling on a quicker scale than I think a lot of us thought. And, while we're talking about this, this has a lot to do with it when it comes to the cooler waters up here in the North Atlantic. And just looking at this scale right here, and I'm going to go ahead and try to enlarge it for you guys, and I'll close it off on this right here. This area that I'm watching here in the North Atlantic, now these are anomalies, so I'm not trying to make a big deal, but it is this right here that I'm watching. And when you've got fuego affecting a possibility affecting solar warming in the tropics, we've got cooler water than what we normally have seen. You have to start wondering when the transfer is really going to start being disrupted here, if much cooler air is going to stick around in the Northeast on a more permanent basis, or, I guess time will tell. And we have definitely seen a lot of changes here. But the anomaly in the North Atlantic, that's something it dips and it goes back up and it dips again. So, not saying that this is never going to correct itself here, but just interesting to watch. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing a whole lot more blue and white on this map than I am the dark oranges and the dark. And this is just looking at this not too long ago too. Dramatically, there's a lot of orange and red that is gone from this map from the last time that I checked it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys tuning in for the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Please like and share. It seems like we've had a few people talking about they're not getting notices. Thank you to the Portillo family once again, donating very generously of you guys. That's more than once from you, so we greatly appreciate the support, guys. All right, we'll talk soon. We'll be back tomorrow night at probably 9 o'clock Eastern time. Take care, guys.